got to the end of the afternoon session of day 14 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry Tranche 2 Phase 1. It's all day has been Lindsey German. She currently of Stop the War Coalition, but during the 1980s, in the period we're talking about with this tranche, part of the Central Committee of the Socialist Workers Party. Most this afternoon was concerned with the demonstration at Welling on 16th of October 1993, which she described as a medieval battle. Basically, the police cordoned off all the routes and charged with twice as many horses as they had at Orgreave, which was a statistic I didn't know. 83 of them, apparently. Eveline, I've got Eveline from the Undercover Research Group with me. It's the most common person to come on these things with me. Hooray.
Yeah, well, I'm the only one left.
What do you think of it?
Well, it was a long afternoon, but I think she did extremely well. You know, she was sort of. It was like a Wimbledon game. You know, like questions were thrown at her, and she had. And it was more or less the same question every time, and she answered it in a different way every time. Very, very well done. It was all about, like, was there any violence planned? Was the SWP planned to? Is it true that they went with 2 containers with, to set fire to the bookshop? We were shown a picture of the bookshop, which was basically just fully. Yeah, well, a wall without even a door in it. So, even if you would want to, it was quite impossible to set fire in it. And of course, not on the day that a major demonstration was planned there. So and she was like, there was so many questions about, okay, people got seriously hurt, but wasn't that from other people who threw objects from behind? No, they were beaten on the head by the police. So it continued, was there any violence planned? And she was very, very clear on the fact that, there were so many people there, 50,000? I think.
The 60 is what?
50 or 60, all the roads were blocked. So people were let on like it was not like the Strand or any broad other Trafalgar Square thing. They were let into streets, and then all the streets were blocked, which then the police and the media initially denied, but was later, proved that it was so. And so people couldn't go anywhere. There were loads of people, not from London, from outside, from all over the country, who didn't know their way. Even people from London never, were not there. So, once the police started trying to sort of break up the march, people didn't have anywhere to go. So it was, in that sense, a medieval battle, because they had to climb over walls, get into a cemetery, falling. So it must have been horrendous. And also, she kind of framed it as a way to put people off from going to demonstrations, to set it up this way. It's not like, like you have the right to demonstrate, and there were all kind of, like severe racist attacks during those days and those years or those months, and the police wasn't doing anything about it or was responsible for it, and it was like people were really angry. You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody on the left in the UK of a certain age either was at Welling or heard a lot about Welling. We heard a lot about it today. I think Lindsey German did a good job of pointing out how much it's really fitted into a wider context, the police wanting to stop protest against the BNP, and the way in which they weren't chasing up or stopping racist attacks from happening. I mean, the biggest example of that is Stephen Lawrence, who was killed very close to where the BNP bookshop was. I mean, there was quite an interesting point earlier where David Barr showed like a map and showed like the locations of some of the racist murders that we've been talking about for the last few days, and how close they were to the location of the BNP bookshop. And also the way in which the policing of that particular protest was kind of designed to put people off from going to protests, which is a tactic we've seen time and time again from the cops, of just going like, these are not safe places, you shouldn't want to go to protest. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, this is an inquiry into undercover policing. I don't like. I can see where a lot of the questioning is coming from a the inquiry point of view, but there's huge sections of it, particularly in the context of the fact that so many people who are affected by undercover policing haven't been called to give evidence, especially when they're being talked about and they're in the same room, which is something we've had a few times in this phase. To spend so long discussing like ideology and what the SWP position was on the police and various other issues. Just felt like a waste of the inquiry's time, possibly. I think that the main thing we learnt about the undercover police from today, which I think Lindsey German made the point very well in a multitude of different ways of how much of a fantasist that Trevor Morris was, how much of a fantasist so many of the undercover police have been in their reporting. Trevor Morris particularly, the self-aggrandizement, the just the misrepresentation, and also they really didn't understand the politics of the groups they were infiltrating. I mean, we saw this very much yesterday when we were hearing from HN56, who said that before he joined Special Branch, he didn't know the difference between right wing or left wing. I mean, you get the impression there's a lot of that kind of misunderstanding from undercover cops, even later on in their careers. It was quite a long day again. Foolishly, we thought it might be shorter today, seeing originally Lindsey German's slot was just meant to be a few hours in the afternoon on Monday, and it's been a very full day today. Is there anything else you want to add about today's hearing?
Like you said, it's not just about ideology or intense. It's also about as if the groups who are giving a witness statement are on trial. They have to defend themselves for their ideas, but also for their alleged leanings to violence, and and it goes on and on and on. Like David Bard, it was really he was quite fast in firing off questions, and it's and this. It makes you wonder how they are going to do that with the women who have been in relationships later on. Like, are they going to fire on questions like this, and do they have to defend themselves like this? So it's not like the undercover police is on trial. They're on trial, but they are investigated. Well, it seems more likely that.
There's a great link to that. We will find out on Monday how, because there are two women who had sexual relationships with Trevor Morris, the undercover police officer who's being questioned later in the week, will be being questioned on Monday. You'd hope that there'll be a bit more sensitivity in the questioning of them.
Yes, let's see and let's hope so. And we will be there to support them. Yeah. And, another great shout out to Lindsey German on how she did it and how she continued to do it all day.
Yeah, just another thing that strikes me was that there's a lot of things which they're a matter of historical record. We know exactly what happened in retrospect to a lot of these events, yet we're being shown police reports from the preparation before events, and then it's kind of asked, well, what did actually happen? It's like, well, look it up, mate. Lindsey German was asked how she knew about Julie Watson's injuries, police injuries, and the fact she got compensation. She was like, well, because it's a matter of historical record. She brought a legal case. This isn't something that's kind of like a half gossip or half remembered or something. And we've seen this a few times where it's like, well, what did actually happen? It's like, well, there's a lot of things that were talked about in police reports that turned out not to be the case because events happened, and those things that were talked about in the report didn't happen because they were made up by fantasists. I mean, perhaps the inquiry is, at this stage of the inquiry, that it's not their place to. They're looking to catch people out. They're looking to see what people's opinions on things are, or whatever. But it's a bit frustrating. If there's nothing else, we'll be back on Monday. Bea and Jenny, who had relationships with Trevor Morris, will be giving evidence. You won't be able to see their faces on the video. They'll be completely anonymous, as they have every right to be. We have a day off on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we'll be hearing from the Lewis family, whose relative was identity was stolen by undercover police officers, followed by the beginning on Wednesday afternoon of Trevor Morris's evidence. He'll then carry on until Friday, so 2.5 days for Trevor Morris, which is good, which hopefully means that it won't be too late on the Friday. The following Saturday, I'll be at Green Gathering Festival. If anybody's going to be there, I'll be talking about all this stuff. And then the week after, I'll be at Boomtown Festival talking about it again. I should be on, I'll be doing Twitter Spaces later on this evening. I'm also meant to be on Under the Pavement radio show in Manchester tonight. If anybody wants any, I'm also going to be doing a Tortoise Media podcast as well over the weekend. We'll try and get a new episode of the Spycops Info podcast out over the weekend. There's plans to record something tomorrow. Thanks for any support anybody's given us, and we'll see you all on Monday. Bye.